Because we cannot possibly become an excellent operation if we don't each individually do a better job of becoming a better version of ourselves. That last piece, Harry talked about, what operation looks like in terms of machinery performance and tool performance and people performance. It's that last piece that's the most important piece of all, and that is each of us becoming a better version of ourselves, individually and collectively. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about this, and I've kind of broken it into some terms that make sense to me, and I hope they make sense to you. The first point of view on this that I want to talk about is physically. Now, I don't know what the best version of you is. I don't know each of you or any of you well enough to know what the better version of you is. I can make some assumptions about that from what I know about you, but I do have a pretty good idea of what are the things that make a better version of me. Now, I had, from a physical standpoint, I had heart surgery a few years back, and so it's very, very important for me, in order to be the best version of myself, it's very important to me to take care of myself physically. It's very important for me to get enough exercise, to get enough sleep, to eat the right things, and take care of myself. And I know when I'm neglecting exercise, or when I'm eating too much junk, or when I'm not getting enough sleep, I do not come to work in the best possible version of myself that I can be. I'm grumpy, I can be grouchy, short with people, creativity goes out the window. And I think for most people that's true too. How many people in here try to exercise regularly? At least try to. Okay, well, that's good. How many people actually do work out and exercise regularly? Show of hands. Okay, how? Okay, but that's good. I mean, making the effort that's most of the battle. But I think it's important, in order for us to become the better version or the best version of ourselves that we can be, we have to pay attention to the physical aspect of it. The second thing that I think it's really important, at least for me anyway, to be the better version of me, is take care of myself intellectually. How many regular readers do we have in here? Show of hands. Regularly read. Okay? Yes, we need to work on it. I find for myself that if I stay in a regular habit of reading, of enriching myself, learning about new things, learning about people, I'm a better person because I'm sharing in more experiences. My breadth of knowledge is my perspective on people and interactions is better. I would recommend to you reading biographies. Biographies of great people that have done great things. There's no better way to learn about becoming a better version of yourself than to read about and learn about how other people have accomplished great things and how they've overcome obstacles in their life and how they have been of service to others. Read the biography of John Adams. Read the biography of Helen Keller. Read about Mother Teresa. Now there's a life that was lived in total service to others, a person who certainly became a much better version of herself, possibly the best version she could possibly be. So take care of the intellectual side of your own health. The third area that I think is incredibly important, and I know it is for me, is emotional health. I cannot be the best version of myself if I'm not in an emotionally healthy state of mind. So I'd like to ask you, what do you think, what's the one thing that has the biggest bearing on our individual health, our emotional health? Stress, yep, absolutely. Anything else?
Personal life.
Personal life, absolutely. What else? Any other ideas? Sleep? Absolutely. Well, I want to suggest to you, and going back to this personal life, I want to suggest to you that, at least in my life, the thing that has the most impact on my emotional health is relationships. Relationships. How are those relationships going? Relationships in the family, with a spouse, or a friend, or a child, or a parent, or a grandparent. How are your relationships at work? How are you getting along? How are you perceived? How do people perceive you? What is that interaction? Is it positive? And is it emotionally fulfilling? You know, is it putting money in the bank, the emotional bank, or is it withdrawing? Now, one of the things that's become apparent to me over the last 10 years of my life is how incredibly difficult the two particular words are in the English language to say. Does anybody know what those two words are? They're so difficult to say. Love. No, it's hard to say no. Sorry. I'm sorry. Two of the most difficult words in the English language to get to roll off your lips. It takes a big person to say, I'm sorry. But if we want to build relationships at home, in community, or work, we have to be able to say, I'm sorry. Now, there's three more words that I believe are even more difficult to say than I'm sorry. What do you think those are?
It's my fault.
It's my fault. Absolutely. Those are right up there. I'm looking for three more. How about I forgive you? I forgive you. I know for me, that is more difficult than I'm sorry. Actually saying I forgive you and meaning it with all my heart. And again, if we can say we're sorry, we know we're wrong, and if we have the bigness of heart to forgive, how much better would our relationships be? Not only at home, but at work and everywhere else in our life. So, two very important things to think about in terms of building relationships and furthering our own emotional health. Now, I had an opportunity a few years ago to say a few words at my daughter's wedding. And when the time came at the reception, I stood up and I thought a long time about what I was going to say at that reception. And I decided I would focus on this relationship. And I talked about their relationship, budding relationship, in terms of a small, brand new little flower. What do you have to do with a small flower every day? You've got to water it, you've got to care for it, you've got to nurture it. And it's the same thing in a relationship. You have to care for it, you have to nurture it, you have to feed it every day. What happens if you don't feed and water and nurture a plant? It wilts and it dies. And it's the exact same thing in relationships. You have to feed those relationships. You have to be giving. You have to be forgiving. And you have to be able to say, I'm sorry. So we talked originally about operational excellence, all the things that go into becoming an operationally excellent company. And one of the most important of those three of those things that Harry talked about was the people aspect of it. And so we talked about people and very, very personal, our own journey of becoming a better version of ourselves. But now let's turn it back to the workplace. Let's take that better version of ourselves back to the workplace. And what does that mean? Well, I suggest that you ask yourself this question. In terms of the service that I provide and the value that I add, how am I getting better and better each day? What is my service proposition? You know, if you go on the website of any major international, multinational company, or even any large company for that matter, and you click on there, you'll eventually find their values and their vision and their mission and all the statements. And somewhere buried in there, you'll find their service proposition. They'll talk about their service proposition in their market. So my question is, what is our service proposition? What is your service proposition? What is my service proposition each and every day? Am I courteous? Am I cooperative? Am I helpful? Am I pleasant to be around? Am I pleasant to interact with? If the answer to those questions in your own heart is no, then there's an area for improvement. There's an area for becoming a better version and helping this company become a better version of itself. The next question is, how do I add value? We all have a lot of things to do. This is a very complex business. We all know that. We talk about that all the time. And in order for us to continue to stay up with and exceed the capabilities of our competitors, we have to be moving ahead all the time. If we're standing still, we're falling behind because our competitors are very good and they're getting better. So, how do we add value? Each of us has a list of things we got to deal with and do every day, and we have to make sure that that work is accurate. We have to make sure that it's on time. We've got to make sure that it's complete, thorough, and that we attend to all the details. Again, it's a very complex business. There's a lot of details. We've got to attend to those details. So, 2 questions to ask ourselves every day. What is my service proposition, and how do I add value in my relationships and my interactions with the people I work with every day? So we're getting to the end here. I see everybody smiling. And as I was thinking about how to end this, I was sitting at my computer, and I was trying to figure out, well, okay, how am I going to end this presentation? And I hadn't been using the computer for a few minutes, and my screensaver popped up. And there was my answer. Because I have, on my screensaver, I have this message to remind me every day, many, many times a day, that I have to go out into the workplace with this attitude. How can I be of service to you today? If each and every one of us would approach our job, approach our fellow workers, approach our team, approach our jobs, and approach each other with this attitude of how may I be of service to you today, this would be a much better place to work. We would become operationally excellent, and we would each become much better versions of ourselves.